She thought it was just a visit, a short trip to see her family, but days later her husband in the UK received a call. She was gone. The reason? Natural causes, they said, but her new life, her new love, and her voice were all erased. Was it illness? Or something much darker? Subscribe now and turn on the bell so you don't miss the stories that others are too afraid to tell. Ayesha was a 28-year-old woman born in the United Kingdom, raised in a traditional Pakistani family. She had recently married Imran, the man she loved, a choice her family never accepted. One day, she received a call from her mother in Jhelum, Pakistan. Her father, they said, was very sick. It sounded urgent. Imran, her husband, felt something strange about the timing. He told her not to go, but Ayesha believed her family wouldn't harm her. She still had hope they could accept her choices. Against warnings, she booked a flight and traveled alone. It was supposed to be just a short visit, a few days with her parents, then back to her life in the UK. When she arrived, she messaged Imran to say she had landed safely. That was the last message he ever received from her. What seemed like a normal family trip would soon turn into a mystery filled with silence, fear, and unanswered questions. After Ayesha arrived in Jhelum, Imran expected to hear from her regularly. They usually talked every day, shared small things, laughed over voice messages. But this time, she went silent. Hours turned into a day. Then two. Imran tried calling, no answer. He messaged, nothing. When he finally reached her family, they told him not to worry. She's resting, they said. She's tired from the flight. But Imran knew Ayesha. She wouldn't ignore him unless something was wrong. Each time he called, someone else answered. Her phone was never with her. His worry grew. He started asking questions, pushing harder. That's when her family began acting cold. They stopped picking up. For the first time, Imran feared that something terrible had happened. Ayesha's silence wasn't normal. It wasn't distance. It felt like a warning, a quiet scream coming from behind locked doors. Something had changed, and no one was telling him the truth. On the fourth day, Imran's phone rang. It was Ayesha's uncle. His voice was calm, almost cold. He said Ayesha had died during the night. The cause? A sudden heart attack, he claimed. No hospital visit, no doctor present, no effort to revive her. The funeral had already happened. She was buried quickly, without a full investigation. Imran was stunned. Ayesha was young, healthy, and had no history of illness. He begged for details, but no one answered his questions. Her phone was still off. No one sent a photo. No one explained why he wasn't informed sooner. The story felt wrong, too fast, too clean. Imran felt sick. Deep down, he believed this wasn't fate. It wasn't an accident. Something had been planned. He remembered how Ayesha feared returning home. Now, the worst had happened, and yet everyone around her was acting like it was just another day. That was the moment Imran knew. This was no natural death. Before marrying Imran, Ayesha had been forced into a marriage with a cousin named Khalid. It was arranged by her parents when she was still very young. She never wanted it, but saying no wasn't an option. For years, she lived in silence, hiding her sadness, trying to survive in a life she never chose. Eventually, Ayesha found the strength to file for divorce. She moved on, rebuilt herself, and married Imran, someone she loved, someone who respected her. But to her family, that second marriage was a public insult. In their eyes, she had broken tradition and brought shame to the family name. Even after she left, some relatives continued calling, demanding that she return to Khalid. Others spread rumors. Ayesha tried to ignore it all, but deep inside, she knew they hadn't forgiven her. And now, she had walked back into their home. The same people who believed her love was a crime. After hearing about Ayesha's sudden death, Imran refused to accept the story. He contacted the British Embassy. He contacted the media. He begged for help. He told everyone who would listen that his wife had been in danger. He said the trip was a trap, that her family had tricked her into coming, and now she was gone. At first, few believed him. The official story said natural causes. But Imran didn't stop. He shared old voice messages where Ayesha said she was scared. He spoke on television. He gave interviews. His words began to spread. People started to ask, how could a healthy woman suddenly die with no medical report, no investigation, and no warning signs? Imran's pain became the center of a growing storm, one that would push the truth to the surface, no matter who tried to hide it. With public pressure rising, the authorities in Pakistan agreed to reopen the case. Ayesha's body was taken from the grave and examined by independent doctors. The second autopsy changed everything. It showed clear signs of neck injuries. She had not died from a heart attack. She had been strangled. The truth hit the media like a shockwave. The case was now being investigated as a possible murder. Protesters demanded justice. Women's rights groups spoke out, but while the public cried out for answers, the family stayed quiet. No one explained why her death had been covered up. No one said who was in the room with her that night. All that was known now was that Ayesha hadn't died naturally, and someone had made sure she would never speak again. Police arrested two men, Ayesha's ex-husband Khalid and her father, Yunus. Both were in the house when she died. Both claimed innocence. But the investigation revealed something darker. Neighbors said they heard yelling that night. One witness said she saw Khalid enter Ayesha's room and lock the door behind him. Others said the family had been trying to convince her to leave Imran and remarry Khalid. The pressure was intense. The threats were real. Authorities believed she had refused and paid the price. Still, the two men said nothing. No emotion, no sorrow, just silence. And that silence became one more layer in a story full of shadows. Rumors spread that Khalid had confessed during questioning. He allegedly told police that he ended Ayesha's life to restore honor to the family. If true, this meant her death was not only planned, it was accepted by those around her. But official records of the confession were never released. Some say it was erased. Others believe pressure came from powerful figures trying to protect the family. Either way, the truth remained locked behind closed doors. No court trial began. No sentence was given. Ayesha's name faded from headlines, but those who followed her story knew if that confession was real, it was a window into something terrifying, a world where family pride could mean someone never wakes up again. As the case gained international attention, officials from the UK began pressuring Pakistan's leaders. British MPs demanded a full investigation. Activists in London held protests, calling for justice. Pakistani lawmakers responded, promising transparency. But progress was slow. Files went missing. Witnesses disappeared. The legal system moved at a crawl. People started to suspect that Ayesha's case was being buried, not just her body, but the whole truth. And behind every delay was a question, no. One could answer, why was it so hard to bring justice for a woman who had already lost everything? Months passed, then years. The suspects were released on bail. Hearings were rescheduled again and again. Sometimes key witnesses didn't show up. Other times, new evidence was not available. Ayesha's husband continued pushing for justice, but the fight was endless. It felt like each step forward led to 2 steps back. Some said the case had become too political. Others whispered that powerful families were involved. Whatever the reason, one fact remained: the people closest to Ayesha were walking free. And the woman whose only crime was loving someone had been silenced without a single verdict. In many places, what happened to Ayesha is never even reported. Families cover it up. Communities stay quiet. Some people believe it's better to protect a name than to protect a life. Ayesha's case showed how deep this silence goes. Even after evidence proved she had not died naturally, many still refused to speak out. People close to the family said nothing. Neighbors pretended not to know. Some relatives even blamed Ayesha for her own fate. Her decision to marry someone of her choice was seen by them as a betrayal. This silence isn't just fear, it's part of the system, and it makes the fight for justice almost impossible. When people protect each other out of shame or tradition, truth has no voice. Ayesha's voice was taken, but the silence around her still screams louder than any protest, and that silence continues to destroy lives. Ayesha's story reached far beyond her home or her country. It became a symbol, not just of one woman's tragedy, but of many. Across the world, women face judgment for their choices. Some lose their families, others lose their lives. Ayesha stood for every voice that was ignored, every warning that went unheard. Her name was mentioned in human rights reports. Her case was used to push for stronger protections. But symbols can fade when justice is delayed. That's why her husband, activists, and supporters kept sharing her face, her story, her name. They wanted people to remember that behind every news article is a real person, someone with dreams, fears, and love. Ayesha's name became more than a headline. It became a call for change and a reminder that the cost of silence is too high. Not everyone supported Ayesha. In some circles, especially among more conservative voices, people defended her family. They said she had brought shame, that she had disobeyed her parents. These ideas created division, not only in her community but across the country. Some feared speaking up, afraid of backlash. Others saw her story as proof that the system had failed. The more her case was discussed, the more people took sides. Families argued, religious leaders gave opposing views, politicians avoided the topic. But in the middle of all that noise, one truth remained. A woman had died in silence, and her voice was still missing from the conversation. The fight for justice became more than a courtroom issue. It became a test of what kind of society people wanted to live in. After Ayesha's case made international headlines, lawmakers promised change. They spoke about closing legal gaps that allowed families to avoid punishment. In Pakistan, some progress was made. Laws were updated to limit the ability of relatives to forgive each other in murder cases. But the truth is, many loopholes remained. In some situations, powerful families still find ways to avoid justice. Trials are delayed, witnesses are threatened, documents go missing. These technical gaps protect the guilty. Ayesha's case helped start the conversation, but the work isn't done. Her story shows that changing a law isn't enough. There must be real action, courage in the courts, and protection for those who speak up. Until then, many more voices like hers may be silenced before they're ever heard. Ayesha didn't want to become a symbol. She wanted to live, to love, to be free. But her story became something greater, a mirror of what still happens to many women today. She lost her voice, but we still have ours. Her husband never stopped fighting for her. Her story moved hearts around the world. But we must ask, what has truly changed? Justice delayed is justice denied. If you watched until now, you know this isn't just about one person. It's about all the stories that never get told. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Her voice matters. And before you go, check if you're subscribed, hit the bell and join us as we continue to reveal the stories that others tried to bury.